President Trump, ladies and gentlemen, our talks were constructive. We had mutual respect. These were very useful and substantial talks. Once again, thanks to my American counterpart, my colleague, for his invitation to come to Alaska. It's quite a reasonable decision to meet here. Our countries are divided by oceans, but in fact we are close neighbors in ways, because when I stepped down from the plane, I said, "Good afternoon, my neighbor. I'm so happy to see you in good health and alive." And it's a very good neighborly welcome, a kind of welcome. So we are divided by the Bering Strait. And in fact, there are two islands there between the Russian and the American island. There are only 4 kilometers there, so we are close neighbors. Also, Alaska ties us through mutual history, our two countries, Russia and the United States. There are many positive events that tie us together. There's a lot of cultural heritage here from the Russian-America period. There are Orthodox churches here, geographical names, topological names that carry Russian legacy, Russian names. In fact, it was through here that some of the military equipment that came to Russia, to the Soviet Union, in the Land-Lease program, and our specialists from both sides, and drivers and military men, risked everything, risked their lives to help us. And there is, in fact, a monument in Magadan to air pilots from America and from the Soviet Union who gave up their lives to make sure that victory was possible. And we are thankful to the American authorities for remembering those heroes here as well in Alaska. We're grateful for that, and we will continue to remember all other historical examples where our two countries work together to defeat our common enemies, when we are united, when we helped each other, assisted each other. And I think that legacy will help us restore, rebuild ties, build on mutual respect, even in these difficult circumstances. So Russian-American meetings, high-level meetings, haven't been held in more than 4 years. This is a long period, and this was a very tough period for both our countries. In fact, let me be frank, this was the lowest point for us since the Cold War, and this wasn't a positive thing for the world or for our countries. So it was evident, self-evident, that sooner or later we had to rectify the situation and return to dialogue. So that is why a personal in-person meeting of the two leaders of the two countries was a necessity. We did a lot of work, our teams did a lot of work to prepare for this meeting. Myself and President Trump have had very good direct contacts, conversations over the phone. And as you know, American Special Envoy Mr. Witkoff came to Russia on multiple occasions, and our foreign ministries, heads of foreign ministers were also in communication. So, as you know, one of the key issues for us was resolving the issue of Ukraine, the conflict in Ukraine, and we are seeing that President Trump is personally involved, personally interested in resolving this conflict, understanding the in-depth reasons for that conflict. And I have said on multiple occasions that this has to do with Russian national interests and security interests. We've always seen Ukraine as a brotherly nation of Russia's, and we have the same roots. So this, for us, is also a tragedy. So our country, Russia, is certainly interested, very much interested in putting an end to this conflict. we would like to see this settlement of the conflict to be, we want it to be stable and sustainable, and that requires us to address all of the reasons for the conflict and making sure that all of Russia's interests are taken into account and that the balance of power is respected. I agree with President Trump, and he said, he spoke about this today as well. He said that Ukraine's security must also be respected, and we will continue to work on that. I'm sure that the understanding that we've reached today will help us open the path towards peace in Ukraine. And I hope that in Kiev and in European capitals, they will hear this and they will see this as a positive thing and will not try to create obstacles or create provocations and undermine the progress that we can achieve here. Oh, by the way, with the U.S. new administration, bilateral trade between Russia and the U.S. has started to go up. Maybe just symbolic numbers, but it's increased by 20%. There are a lot of areas where we could deepen our interaction, deepen trade. Russian-American investment cooperation has huge potential. Russia and the United States have a lot to work together with when it comes to IT, to space exploration and many other areas. Intensifying contacts between our Far East and America is also a good opportunity, a good prospect. Now, it is symbolic that the so-called date-changing line that goes on the border between Russia and the United States, a line where you can step from today into tomorrow. It is really symbolic. So I'd like to thank President Trump for the work that we've had today, for the friendly tone of conversation, for the goal-oriented approach, results-oriented approach. We can see clearly what the United States wants to achieve. President Trump certainly sincerely cares for the future of his country. At the same time, he understands that Russia has its own national interests. I'm sure that today's agreements will help us restart pragmatic relations between Russia and the United States and help us start on the path towards resolution in Ukraine. And also one more thing. In 2022, during my final contacts with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American counterpart, President Biden, that we needn't move towards a situation which could lead to a military confrontation. I told him before that that would be a critical mistake. And now President Trump, when he says that if he were president, there would be no war. And I personally believe that is the case. There would be no war had President Trump been president at that time. Because myself and President Trump have had very good trust-based relations. And I'm confident that if we had stayed on that path, we could move as quickly as possible to a resolution of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound. And I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe. Thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here. And I think, you know, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time. And we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. That made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, whose faces, who I know in many cases, otherwise, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
President, what still needs to be done? Mr. President, what still needs to be done?